Hello everyone, and welcome to another Animation podcast revived. This is number 11. And since last week we talked about our favorite girls, this week we are talking about our favorite boys, male characters. So that means this week we're talking about, I'm just quickly reading from the Discord, the actual question that I posted. Who are your top 3 male characters in anime and why? But you can also mention manga characters if you feel like it. And just to shake things up, I wanted to know one answer for your least favorite male character and why. Answer in as much or as little detail as you would like, and use whatever criteria you prefer. So I would like to know about the criteria where possible, because I think that's what makes the answers more interesting. And as I was trying to rearrange my best girls top 10 list, I realized that I'm going to have to take some time and clear my whole list and then add them back one by one, and maybe do like a long format video where I just kind of like arrange them. I don't know if there's anyone that would be interested in the arranging, but I think it would be a fun 3 hours if we could squeeze it in somewhere. But I would obviously just post the finalized list somewhere. So yeah, I hope we get to do that in the future. Shout out to the live chat. We have Modru Hunter, Espada Shoru, Sotos, Yuga Makoto is also here, Booty, Vermilio. Did I say Hunter? Tiago, Nox is here, Cherry is lurking, Dark Shadow. And yeah, before this, we were having quite some interesting conversations. Which I will just say that you really need to join the live streams for the in between moments, because to me they're priceless. But to be fair, they're stacked. Like, these priceless moments are always surrounded by just a bunch of me rambling and ranting about, and then doing Japanese lessons and failing, and all kinds of bizarre things. But every now and then, I don't know. Wait, Shadow's emoji is cute. Why don't I have that? It's the ghost emoji. It's just a boo. Okay, so as usual, I will be reading the answers from my patrons and Twitch members and everything on the Discord. And then I'll give my own answer at the end. I have thought a lot more about my favorite male characters than my favorite female characters, but yeah, I've never really finalized my criteria or anything. All that I know is, and I'll say this up front, Luffy is my favorite character, male, female, anime, all stories. Luffy is my favorite character of all time, and it does have a lot to do with the story of One Piece as a whole and what Luffy represents inside that story. So I'll just start by saying that. And the first person who answered was Escanor. So Escanor said, my favorite male character would be Escanor from the Seven Deadly Sins. So his account is obviously named after that character. Then there's Trunks from Dragon Ball series and Jaden from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Escanor is my top, there is no question about it. Trunks is just best boy, and Jaden, third is a tough spot. I thought about Gilgamesh, but I didn't want to have Trunks between two prideful, arrogant characters. And so I chose Jaden because GX is the last great Yu-Gi-Oh! Series in my opinion, and he's a really great character. At least, and least favorite would be Gon. From Hunter x Hunter? You can't drop something like that and then just end your comment there. Bye, Modru. See you next time. Least favorite is Gon. Nox says Jaden is a pretty fun answer. GX is pretty amazing. So I am going to start reacting to Hajime no Ippo very soon because it won a poll between Ippo, Yu Yu Hakusho, or Yu-Gi-Oh! And Ippo got the most votes from level 3 patrons, and they are the ones who determine the reaction. But I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Got the most votes just in general, because I was curious. But those who chose my reactions were level 3 patrons. So I'm looking forward to starting Ippo on the wait 24th of June. Okay, so next up we have a Shoru. I already see an answer that I really, really like. So I can't really say much about Escanor because I've never seen Seven Deadly Sins and I haven't seen Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm very surprised about the Gon answer. I can't say that I don't understand at all. Like, I've heard that some people don't like Gon, and I can. But least favorite of all time? But you almost had Gilgamesh in your top 3? Gon? So, what? There's no wrong answers. I'm just curious about the criteria. Like, Gon, least. Gilgamesh, almost top 3. Is it the same Gilgamesh? We all know and hate to love, love to hate. I'm just joking. Okay. So then Shoru said, Thorfinn from Vinland Saga. Oh, I should have been reading it 3, 2, 1, but okay, number 1 is Thorfinn. I didn't like Thorfinn in season 1 much. He was a well-written character, but he was consumed by revenge and violence, and most of his life revolved around hatred. What made me love him in season 2, instead of becoming another Eren or Sasuke type, he was forced to confront the consequences of his past and the lives that he had destroyed. Watching him struggle with guilt, trauma, and the question of whether a violent person can become a better human being was incredibly powerful and unique. I admire his determination to change despite carrying so much pain. Seeing him choose kindness, empathy, and a purpose beyond revenge made him one of the most inspiring characters I've seen. His growth feels earned, realistic, and deeply human. That brings up another interesting thing for me regarding my own criteria. Sometimes what I do is if an anime is in my top 5, then I don't feel the need to also add the character to my top 5 or top 10 or whatever. Luffy is clearly an exception, but 100% season 2 of Vinland Saga made the show go from, oh, that's cool, to literally in my top 5. And it was actually in my top 3, but because it's unfinished, it's not that it's unfinished, but I've only had 2 seasons of it, so I felt like top 3 is a bit, fast for, 2 seasons, but I need to write this down. Someone write down Thorfinn. He should be a contender for my top 10 at least. Then Shoru answered number 2, Higuruma from Jujutsu Kaisen. He's one of my favorite characters because of his strong sense of justice and the way that he struggles with that. He started as someone who genuinely wanted to help people and believed in the law. Yeah, but the law is written by people, and people have a great potential for good, but that means equally great potential for bad. After seeing corruption and unfairness over and over again, he became disillusioned. What I find compelling is that even after reaching his breaking point, he never completely loses the part of himself that wants to do what is right. He's intelligent, mature, and willing to reflect on his own mistakes instead of making excuses for them. Unlike many characters who blindly follow their ideals, Higuruma constantly questions himself and accepts responsibility for his actions. His story feels tragic because he's a good person trying to find justice in a system that you wrote often fails people, but I want to just add he's trying to find justice in a system that was set up. Yeah, the systems. The systems are made by people who do not all have the same desires or hope for society that Higuruma has. Oh right, reviewing the answers. I'm excited to see that. Then, so absolutely great answer. I really loved his character. I didn't do much reflecting at the time though on his character. Like I kind of just took it at face value. And there was just a lot going on in the season and with the visuals, so I don't think that I really took the time to appreciate his character properly. And also, I think sometimes when a part of the community like memes the character, like, you know, when they overhype, like sometimes you kind of shut off. And then I think I just assumed his character was like, not assumed, but I didn't think deeply about the character because the fandom made me look away from him a little bit sooner than I should have, if that makes sense. But yeah, when you put it like that, it makes me think, wow, you're right. He's a great character. I mean, I always knew he was a very good character, but that really puts it into perspective, especially the part about how he doesn't blindly follow his ideals and constantly questions himself. That is seriously something that more people should do in real life. Like, and I think it boils down to self-awareness. Most people just don't have the time for that little bit of, like, they doubt themselves about, oh, am I beautiful? Am I funny? Should I wear this? But there's a different kind of self-awareness that I hope to develop more, you know. Think about why you believe what you believe. Don't just, like, a lot of people in society with today's virtue signaling drives me insane. And I'm not saying I'm better, but you can't, I don't know, they're just so sure about themselves without doing any critical thinking. It's very frustrating. That's true, Cherry. Jujutsu Kaisen characters have a lot of depth, but it doesn't. What I really like about the depth of some Jujutsu Kaisen characters, well, actually, most of them, it's not shoved down your throat, it's not spoon fed to you. It's clearly stated without, if you think about it, the same with Higuruma. I didn't think about it much, so I didn't really realize there's more to his character. And it's the same with Gojo. People think he's just this hot OP guy, but there is so much more to him, and we've talked about that in the past. Because what makes him interesting is that he is this character that can literally destroy everyone and force his own ideals, but he knows that that doesn't last. He knows that that won't make a real difference. You take out one corrupt government, it creates a vacuum, and then the next corrupt one will swoop in. So sorry. You have to change. You have to start with educating the next generation. You have to change the way people think and not indoctrinate them, but inspire them, you know? So Gojo is a great character. But it's not shoved down your throat. That made me feel vindicated. Gojo gets written off as an OP character, but he does so much critical thinking, it's crazy. People just, they're used to being spoon-fed lessons and stuff in stories, and I'm just like, it doesn't have to be that in your face. A character can be complex and interesting without, I don't know, the narrator telling you that every 5 minutes. Okay. 3. Yami Sukehiro from Black Clover. I can't say anything because it's spoilery, but based on the others, you can tell the type of guys that I love in stories. I can. I never knew that Discord messages has limits. Oh yeah. If you don't have Nitro, you can't make them too long. It's very frustrating. The character that I most hate would be an easy answer, probably between Hisoka and Rudius. Love to read it. I'll mention instead characters that they were close to being on my top 5, but I hated them later. That's funny. Naruto and Gon had the potential to be at the top of my list, but I ended up disliking them. Naruto and Shippuden, I stopped at the beginning of the 4th Great Ninja War arc, which was probably the last arc, and Gon during the Chimera Ant arc. Just to make it clear, I don't hate Naruto because of Talk no Jutsu. It's actually one of the things I respect about him. My problem with Shippuden is that it seemed to abandon many of the themes I loved. Self-acceptance, believing in yourself, the idea that anyone who works hard can achieve great things, and that your future is not determined by fate. To me, those themes were gradually thrown out of the window in favor of other ideas that I found less compelling. I will say regarding Naruto is that even though he happened to be special later, at any point, if he still had to work hard. Like, there's 100 things that could have gone differently, that there's 100 things that could have made him choose differently and use his. I think we talked about this a while ago. I don't remember when, but I want to say that you can be born. I how do I say this? I think everyone has the potential to tap into their strengths and do something special in life. Some people look luckier than others, but half the time what looks lucky is actually a curse. Like, think about all these famous people. Like, half of them had horrible childhoods. Their parents pushed them into this and that. And now they look, oh, they're lucky, they're famous, they've got all this and that. But they have to do drugs just to freaking get out of bed in the morning because they're so disillusioned with life. And my point is, whether or not he was born special, the things that he believed in still matter. He could have done so many things differently. And then whether or not he was special wouldn't matter. But he did put himself out there, so eventually, sure, it's just one of those things that, oh, so he ended up, but you all kind of end up being special if you work hard enough, and eventually you find out, oh, you have a talent, or you have a this, or you have a that. Like, it's similar to the idea of luck favors people who put them out there in the first place. There's a quote about that, right? Luck favors the prepared. Success often comes to those who have diligently planned and trained. If even no matter if he was born special, he wouldn't have been able to do what he did if he didn't. Like, being born special is secondary. They're all born special if you think about freaking having magic powers. I don't know. That's something like, I understand if you got disillusioned with Naruto as a show because it shifted its focus. But to me, putting away Naruto as a character just because he ended up being special, but he never knew that, he never banked on that. I just think that it does a little bit of disservice to his character. But I think many people prefer Shippuden, so it's my problem. I may like it more with a reread after knowing where the story goes. I hope that you will enjoy it more, but I totally get if a show changes focus. Fair enough. You liked it more before, but just if you listen to Naruto's words and stuff, and he never knew if things were going to work out or not, and he still worked hard, and he made things happen for himself, and he changed people's lives that had nothing to do with who he was born as. There were still so much things that he achieved through his own right and with his own hard work. What happens later, that has more to do with the story than with Naruto as a character, if that makes sense. Like the larger story. Things seem fateful when you keep putting yourself out there and keep working hard. Like things work out for you and other people point and say, oh, but he had this and he had that and he had... That frustrates me. Because if Luffy had listened to everyone around him and sat his ass in his town and never left, there's no fate about it. He put himself out there. He chose. Whatever happens later, things are gonna work out because fortune favors the bold. Fortune favors the prepared. You wouldn't fall... What is that word? Falling with your... There's an Afrikaans proverb about falling with your butt in the butter or something. I'm gonna call Hanku and ask him about that proverb. It's a fun one. Okay, sorry. Wat so Afrikaans saying van jy val met jou bout in die botter of as jy soos lucky is. Jy het geval met jou... Ja. Oh, jy weet nie. Okay, never mind. Ja. He doesn't know because I can't... I don't... But it's just a saying like... Yeah. Point is, fortune favors people who are prepared. You tend to get lucky when you work fucking hard and you put yourself out there. Things tend to work out for people like that eventually. They try 1,000 things. One works and everyone's like, oh, he got so lucky. It wouldn't work for us because we're not so lucky. And I'm just like, sit your asses down. It's not because of luck. You uninspired... Anyway, that was a waste of time, but it would have been worth it if I could remember. I'll ask my mom another time. I don't even think it's that relevant. Okay, but anyway, Shoru, I can't wait to hear if you eventually do read the Shippuden. I would love to hear if your opinion on Naruto as a character is still the same. Ek het met my gat in die botter geval. Ja, it means falling with your ass in the butter. I wanted to make a point using that. It means to get really lucky, but you have to like trip and fall. You have to like be somewhere. You have to like try something. And eventually, if you do fall with your ass in the butter, it seems lucky, but at the end of the day, you wouldn't have even been there if you didn't, try something. And people just... Everyone has things in their life that other people would be like, shit, that's lucky. You know what I'm saying? Like, I live in South Africa. We have people from the poorest to the richest. And you can learn and see something from all of their lives. And and you have these rags to riches stories. And it's not because anyone just got lucky. They didn't just wake up one morning and fall with their ass in the butter. They had to get up and run around. You know? You had to be standing near the butter for your ass to fall in it. You had to, try something. And probably you fell in the dumpster 500 times before that. And you had to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and take a shower and try again. I don't know. Eventually, he lived long enough to find out, hey, cool, I was born this special kid. But did anyone ever treat him special? Like, he still had to work hard and believe in himself. And, eventually you do that for long enough. You get stronger. You mentally, physically, and the bigger things fall in place for you because, I don't know, you create the opportunity through showing up. Okay, Espada. So I want to point out that when Espada talked about his top 3 girls, he posted 3 pictures. That was all. He posted 3 pictures of girls with either their boobs or their ass hanging out. And I respect it. That was his top 3 girls post. Do you want to see his top 3 guys post? Actual thoughts, actual thoughts, actual thoughts. Hanku, I just wanted to give the fun... I'll talk to you later. I'll explain to you what we were talking about. So, Espada's answer for favorite male characters in 3rd place. Old Man Head Captain Genryusai Shigekuni Yamamoto. I was never a big fire type guy growing up. The best fire type I had seen was Ace from One Piece. But that was not enough for me to become a fire fan until Yamamoto showed me how good fire can look and how awesome it can be. I would put him up there with King Piccolo, which then later becomes Piccolo Jr. and the Broly. The characters that left me in awe when I saw them on the screen. You just fell in love with them. Your heart just went doki doki. Then, a little about King Piccolo. So, I didn't like Dragon Ball as a kid when I was 5 or 6 years old. I thought it was silly and boring. I was generally waiting for Pokemon to air. Silly and boring. But Pokemon wasn't silly at all. That's just funny. Imagine a 5-year-old thinking, this is silly. I'm waiting for Pokemon. One day there was nothing to do, so I forced myself to sit through Dragon Ball so that I could watch Pokemon after it. And that was the episode when King Piccolo beat the living shit out of Goku. I was really intrigued. And I tuned in the days after to see what happens from there. Roshi dies, he kills Chaozu and summons the dragon to get his wish. The villain had won, and I was hooked. In the rematch, Goku versus King Piccolo, I rooted for Goku because King Piccolo was being a coward. But then he birthed Piccolo Jr., and I was rooting for Piccolo in the match to avenge his father. Interesting. And then Broly in 1st place. In school, there were rumors about a legendary Super Saiyan that everyone else kept talking about, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't have access to the movies, and the internet back then was shitty. All I had was what was airing on TV, so I felt left out. And then, that's where your FOMO began. And then I got the game Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. In the intro, he goes against Gogeta, a fused fighter that was spectacular. What? Spectacular. That is exactly what he wrote. Spectacular. He was really strong in the games, and later I saw the movies. Not as impressive as the games made him out to be, but still, he had left his mark. Gogeta is high up because he is a Monkey King. I always going all in when I see these characters on a banner from DBZ. So let's just showcase the pictures. Boom! 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 Hearing that, I just got Garo flashbacks. Espada, do you like Garo from One Punch Man? I doubt it though, because the anime didn't do him justice, and I don't think Espada is a manga reader, so... Piccolo and Espada really getting excited about man around them, in them. Okay, and then, as for my least favorite character, it's probably Obito Uchiha as an adult. He expresses his emptiness several times. Who is Obito? Oh, Obito. Oh, the one that was... Okay. He says he's nobody, that he doesn't want to be anyone. He is hollow. This man cannot stop yapping. It's as if he wants Naruto or Kakashi to talk no jutsu him. Well, he does. Everyone does. No one wants to be alone. They're just projecting their pain until someone can heal them. There's no need to talk and whine to the MC. Just do what you came here to do without talking. The worst villains are the ones that change their minds with a simple talk no jutsu, trying to justify his actions just cause he's been hurt or his feelings has been hurt. And all Naruto has to do is reach out his hand and be like, hey, you're not a bad guy, you're just misunderstood, or you've made some bad decisions, but I know deep down you're decent. Datebayo. Also, I saw this meme a while ago, but since we're talking Naruto, why not? How far does Naruto make it with Talk no Jutsu? I mean, with these characters. Yeah, the thing with these characters is none of them are human. He liked Garo. It was on my target in Espada Apocalypse. Oh my gosh, for real? Hilarious. To be fair, as far as he would do without Toku no Jutsu, I think he could win Cell over if he caught him young enough. We'll never know. We'll never know. Thanks, Krillin. Okay, let me quickly roll. Did someone get a key? Oh, I can't scroll up. It's such a beep. Okay, so let me just quickly roll, see if we can get a Sasuke key to go with my Naruto key, since we're talking so much about Naruto. If Naruto talked to Hitler, Hitler would have tried again to get into the painting school. The world would look very different today. If only someone talked to him. Gave him some good advice. I didn't finish Shippuden, but I remember I didn't like the Talk no Jutsu either. I don't remember that it was that bad, honestly. There were a lot of fights. Okay, next up is a Sotos. Whoa! Sotos answered! I think we could gift him some black eyeliner. Do you mean Espada? First will be Snake from Black Butler because I really felt like connecting to his character when I met him. You mean you felt connected to his character? So Snake from Black Butler. Then second, Ace from One Piece. The reason is a bit TMI, so let's just say I'm the me now because of him. And you have a tattoo, right? Of Ace's, like, Ace's tattoo is on you. Not Ace, but his tattoo or something like that. Third is Obanai Iguro from Demon Slayer. My least favorite is Orochi from One Piece because fuck that guy. Akainu because fuck him too. And Aizen. I really, really, really hate Aizen. He was my first anime character I blacklisted. I wonder why. It was my first anime tattoo. It's the faces on his hat. Ah, yes, yes, yes. Then Shub says, Shub's replied to Shoru's message and said, it's easy to mistake that, but Naruto didn't abandon those aspects. A prophecy is nothing more than a vague reading into the future. Like a spoiler, it's not something that defines the future like fate. You can see that by how many different people fit the prophecy at the same time. That's a very, very nice way. It's like, that took 30 seconds to read what I took 20 minutes to try and say. Okay, well, I said other things too, but that's pretty much what it boils down to. And then he laughed. God forbid a villain isn't one-dimensional. There's a distinct lack of Vegeta in this villain picture. But Vegeta wasn't Talk no Jutsu. Vegeta was just beaten over and over and over again until he pretty much had no choice. Okay, don't laugh at me. I said Shuro by accident. Next up, Cherry with an essay. In third place, this one was so hard to pick. My real answer would be Zoro from One Piece, but at this moment in time, I'm biased towards Yuta. So I would say Okotsu Yuta from Jujutsu Kaisen. Yuta I loved from the start. He started out as a scared, isolated, and suicidal sorcerer who grew quickly once he was placed in an appropriate environment. Watching his personal growth was amazing, but what makes Yuta so unique and outstanding in my eyes is how comforting and sweet his personality is. Yet he's still a brutal and destructive fighter. Yuta is kind and ruthless at the same time. He's a huge empath, but he will show no mercy in an unavoidable fight. Yuta is dependable and trustworthy. He might not be as invincible as Gojo, although that's. Yeah. Invincible, yeah? But his strength makes people put their hope in him. I'm also a sucker for kind, caring characters who are dependable and strong. Yuta embodies this perfectly, which is why I love him so much. Plus, Maki and Yuta! I ship it! You say Yuta Cherry, his fiance, will be upset, and we don't want Rika to be upset. In second place, we have a Luffy. He basically shares the spot with my number one at this point. Luffy is perfect. No one compares to him. He's chaotic, free, and just in general a good person. Like, what I like about Luffy is that he doesn't think about being a good person. He just is. Like, he's not good because morally this is the right thing to do. He just does. Luffy doesn't question what justice or freedom is. He embodies it easily. It comes to him as naturally as breathing. I read somewhere that Luffy isn't trying to save the world. He's just a force of liberation wherever he goes, and I totally agree with the statement. I love that he doesn't care about status or authority. If someone does something bad, he will tell them and stop them. It doesn't matter if it's an ordinary civilian or an emperor of the sea. What I really like about a character like Luffy is that people who are, and to some extent, like, I'm the kind of person who you see all the anyone would be, not just me. I mean, any of you would probably say the same. You see the state of the world and you just wish that it was different, right? And a lot of times people with that strong sense of justice, they get disillusioned, it's when you try and fix things, it's like it's sometimes it does more harm than good. And Luffy is this, Michael Jackson's song about the man in the mirror? Like, sometimes the more you try and change the world out there, the more you realize that the biggest challenge, the best thing that you can do is really work on yourself and be a different person in the world. And that will just naturally, it will like spill over to the people around you, who will then, like, it's like a ripple effect. It should maybe be like a ripple effect rather than going out there and trying to force things to change. I really like Luffy's way of doing it. It seems freeing and less exhausting and more sustainable if everyone just fucking did better in their own lives and just be a good person rather than trying to go out and, I don't know, but yeah, Cherry, I get you. He will fight whole world leaders for his friend or even for someone who gave him food when he was hungry. He will not just fight for them, but inspire the people around him. And he doesn't try, but it naturally happens. He's not the thing is, if you try, like I said, sometimes you end up doing more harm than good, but thankfully for Luffy, sorry, I'm interrupting your message. Though he will not just fight for them, but inspire the people around him to take fate into their own hands and fight for their own future. He's not a savior. He's not like the kind of thing, like, he helps where he's needed, sure. He helps the people he can help. He does what he can do. But he doesn't supersede your power to help yourself. He inspires that from within you. It's like a perfect balance. I don't know how to. And this is really important for me because, like I told you guys the other day, I was watching this video about this guy. Oh my gosh, he was so difficult to listen to. He was talking about. I should record it and play it for you guys, but he was talking about how he's so sick and tired of the world and genocide, and he hates the world and he hates people now because people do this to each other, and I'm like, do you hear yourself? Your this way of thinking, this hate that supposedly comes from this place of like I want justice. I want, you feel so sorry for all these people suffering, but all he speaks is hate, hate, hate. Okay, Fisher Tiger. If even. And I just feel like I wanted to say, dude, watch One Piece. So yeah, I just think that Luffy is such a balanced character in that sense, that he shows you what life can be like. And you don't need to take on the world government, but in small ways. If you can just have because Luffy is still a fictional character. Sorry, I get so passionate about Luffy that I always end up derailing the conversation. Sorry, Cherry. But some people don't like Luffy for that, because we talked about it a while ago, when someone said that, One Piece should just end already. But he's still a fictional character. He's still a symbol. So it's not like saying everyone should be Luffy, but he will fight whole world leaders for his friend, or even for someone who gave him food when he was hungry. Though he will not just fight for them, but inspire the people around him to take fate into their own hands and fight for their own future. Luffy is a do rather than talk person, and also judges people by their actions rather than their words. Luffy just is. He's a force of nature. His laugh makes me smile even when I'm sad or crying. I'm very biased towards Luffy, and I will not talk to anyone who says anything negative about him. Same. I'm literally, if anyone says Luffy is their least favorite character, I'm skipping that message. You are entitled to your opinion, but I am entitled to my peace of mind. Mm-hmm. Hmm? To be better for him. And lastly, to no one's surprise, Cherry's favorite male character is Levi. I adore this man. Levi has such depth to him. He's slightly awkward, kind of OCD. He suffered many losses, but he never gave up on trying to do the right thing. He seems stoic and emotionless, but one look closer and you can tell he's a very complex character. He's most affected by losing comrades, like comforting a dying soldier to his last breath in one of Levi's first appearances. He is compassionate and cares a great deal about people and their lives. I love loyal, sassy, sarcastic, and badass. I love how loyal, sassy, sarcastic, and badass Levi is. How he doesn't worry for his own safety, Kenny, that Kenny's seen, but he retreats when his comrades or other people are in danger. I also love how Levi doesn't care for authorities. If he's pissed off at the higher ups, he will tell them straight. And the way he beat up the characters that annoyed the heck out of us in the show. It felt satisfying. He has a great sense of justice while admitting that he can't always make the right choice and there's no perfect answer all the time. Despite that, he strives to do the right thing and works towards ending the cycle of suffering as best as he can. To me, he's one of the only characters in Attack on Titan who never faltered. He never put his own desires or wishes above what he thought was the right thing to do. And he's also the only Attack on Titan character that I had 100% faith in for the whole show. My least favorite anime character, that I don't necessarily hate, but definitely dislike, even if he can be entertaining, is Hisoka. I don't understand why so many people love him. Even before I watched Hunter x Hunter, I knew him because so many of the fandom adore him. Even my IRL friends saying, Hisoka is my baby, you have to like him. Baby? Baby? And then I started watching Hunter and I was like, out of all anime characters to like, really? Out of all anime characters to call your baby? Does she know something I don't know? Is she a manga reader? I'm joking. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. A lot. What the girls who like Hisoka probably have absent fathers because he would not give them the time of day. He only has eyes for little boys. So Espada was saying to Shubs when Shub said also, God forbid. Oh, first of all, thank you, Cherry, for giving your thoughts. I'm sorry for totally derailing your Luffy comment. But yeah, I feel the same way as you. I'm definitely very biased towards him. I don't remember where was that message. There was a message in a One Piece manga read along where I decided to talk a little bit about Luffy and this idea of people that, don't like who he's become. That's true. I just I wish my derailing was a little bit more corrigible. Is that a word? My derailings can often just be very incorrigible. So, Ship said, God forbid a villain isn't one-dimensional. And the Spada said there is a good villain that changes, but it's not a Naruto one, because most of them suck. A good villain that changes perspective is Meruem. That is how it's done, from a bad guy to a more decent one. And Ship said, what is Talk no Jutsu if not a change in perspective? Someone being able to tell they were wrong after trying so hard to convince themselves that they were right. Mentioning Meruem and talking about Dragon Ball villains just make it seem like you have a thing for aliens. They're the prime example of not knowing anything and then changing perspective. It's crazy that you can't tell when it's happening with humans, but I get it. Somehow people might be harder to talk to than aliens. While I was watching, I was thinking these are some shitty villains. Pain, Madara, Obito. Obito was just the worst one. Legitimately, the single thing someone needs to enjoy Naruto is emotional intelligence. It could just be a matter of watching it too early or being in the wrong headspace. Then Cherry says, I felt let down by Shippuden for the same reason Shoru mentioned. I was 15 when I watched Naruto, so I'd have to rewatch. It's not just a prophecy, it's Naruto working hard, but ends up being... Okay, I won't talk about that because I already derailed enough about that. To me, I already said enough on that topic, so... Okay, so Shibs' answer for the question of the week... Is this your first day? Is this your first day here, Jolly D Joestar? You've never heard of someone not liking pain? Oh, hi, nice to meet you. My name's Kayla, and I didn't like pain. And I think it's not the most common opinion in the fandom, but the man literally was like, wars suck. I'm going to start a bunch of mini wars to make money so we can have a huge war so that people can learn the pain of war at least for 1 or 2 generations before the generations forget. And then I'll leave a little to-do list. So the next, in 3 generations, we'll have to do it again because every generation needs to learn the pain of war to stop wars. He's about as sensical as Stryker from Wolverine Origins. No, I'm joking. Stryker is more sensical because at least Stryker, he was messing with people. Because I thought Stryker was insane because he was like, let me make an enemy out of you. Then I make your brother super strong. Oh shit, now I make an enemy out of him. And then tell some random guy who couldn't kill him to kill him. That was nonsensical. But turns out he was messing with everyone. But he's still crazy. But he makes more sense than fucking Pain. The thing that made the Pain arc good is that Naruto with his insane new powers and Hinata. Do you think alien villains are as interesting or less so than human villains? People are fucking predictable. At this point, anime villains, Western movie villains, they're all predictable. Someone killed my wife. My dad hurt me. I didn't have a dad. I don't know. They're all like, now I will force my ideals onto others. And that's going to solve the problem. I don't know. They're all so predictable. So aliens by now, at least is something fresh. Oh yeah, sad backstory. But that's not, the sad backstory was someone else who then eventually turned into Pain. Okay, but we're talking about favorite characters here. Shibs' answer for favorite characters is... First, there is Guts from Berserk. I don't know if it needs an explanation, but to sum it up, he's been through it all and he keeps going. Second, there's Thors from Vinland Saga. He is purely love and wisdom, which are things that I value the most, without forsaking strength, which is a very necessary balance in the real life. Third, there is Kenma from Haikyuu, simply because we have the same disposition. I don't think much about characters I hate, but as I scroll down my list, the one that stood out to me most was Flush from Attack on Titan. Flush. Dude has no sauce, and his following is even worse. Ignorance is the thing I despise the most, and fanaticism is often part of it or caused by it. Good answer. Sometimes Shibs is really difficult to talk to because he's very pessimistic, but when I read answers like this, I remember why I asked him to join the Discord back in the day, because he used to comment on my YouTube videos, and his thoughts were always interesting to read. But now, since I asked him to join the Discord, he has never commented on one of my YouTube videos again, so I think I might have made a mistake. I'm joking. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Another long message from Booty in third place. Kojiro Hyuga from Captain Tsubasa. I had a lot of problems choosing the third one. It was a tie between Zoro, Dragon Shiryu, and Hyuga, but in the end I decided to go with the latter because he taught me that you can also root for the antagonist and against the MC. I mean, that's usually what the antagonist is, but yes. You can also root for the antagonist. Because rooting for the antagonist by definition is against the MC. Sorry. Captain Tsubasa is a sports manga / anime for football, so the world is not in danger, no one is going to die or truly suffer. The bad guy has a chance. He is presented as an arrogant and rude player that wouldn't care if he injures others, making you clearly dislike him from the start. But then you start to know him behind the scenes. He is the oldest of 4 siblings, with a deceased father and a mother that barely has enough money for the whole family. He wakes up early to work and help his mother. Everyone in his neighborhood likes him, and all of his rudeness is just to not allow himself to fail and to get a football scholarship to eventually help his family. On top of... Thanks. Now I can never watch Captain Tsubasa. I'm joking. It's never ever been on my list. And even if I started watching it next year, I would have forgotten all of this. On top of that, if you compare him to the other 2 main characters, one is rich, lives in a huge mansion with personal trainers, and has everything he wants, and the other is the happiest guy without a single worry in the world, with a professional football star as his personal trainer. Against all odds, I have been rooting for Hyuga for the last 30 years, and I will keep doing it. P.S. I've always known him as Mark Lenders. That is actually, that says a lot. There are 2 MCs, but the one is rich with personal trainers and the other one has a professional football star as his personal trainer. But this kid is getting up every morning, helping his struggling mother, 3 siblings younger than him. Like, I would root for him too. You don't reach 4 paragraphs without a bit of redundant words that say the same thing. Yes, but just because that kind of thing interests me, I will mention it sometimes. I don't know how you guys do it. Your answers are always so well thought out. and the depth and the characters and everything. But for me, it's always about how I feel. And most times I can't even explain it. Yeah, but Sotos, your vocabulary exists out of things to make dark jokes out of. I didn't expect you to like explain your thoughts, because they're mostly just like boobs, snake, dark joke. That's what she said. So next up is and that's totally fine. The world is a beautiful place because of the variety of people that is inside of it. Some people are quills, some people are hammers, but we're all tools in the end. Wait. Okay. Second, Gogeta from Dragon Ball. This is pure nostalgia, and I'm well aware of that. I had the movie on VHS, and I watched it more than 100 times in those old days without a million channels or 30 streaming services with thousands of movies and shows to watch. He was perfect. The fusion of my two favorite characters at the time, the ultimate warrior that doesn't waste time being arrogant, cruel, or lowering his guard as Goku and Vegeta often do. Gogeta was all business, and I love that. Even when I later realized it was because of the movie's timing, it was too late. The magic had already trapped me. Oh, you mean like they didn't have time to waste time. So he was all business because that's all they had time for. Of course, the character came back in Dragon Ball GT and they completely ruined him. They used the name but changed his personality. He was careless, arrogant, and couldn't finish the job. He was 100% the opposite of Gogeta. They used Vegeto's personality instead. I will always hate the GT's Gogeta and refuse to acknowledge him as Gogeta. So definitely don't count this version as my answer. Espada strongly disagrees with that. And I can't really talk about it in more detail because I've only ever seen all of Dragon Ball once, up to episode 121 of Super. And I got kind of annoyed. Someone recently commented, it's a little weird so much you would focus. You was. They typed funny, it's difficult to read. It's a little weirdo so much you was focused by this random first episode, whereas often you're not on the great episodes in my point of view. 1815 proves what I'm saying. So apparently I was really focused while watching Dragon Ball Super episode 45. But then in another episode, for a split second, I forgot I had seen the blue hair Vegeta because Goku said, "Oh, you have this power too?" And I was like, wait, we haven't seen, this is the first time we see Vegeta with blue hair? But he didn't mean Vegeta. He meant the fake Vegeta. You also have this power. So for a split second, I forgot about blue hair Vegeta. Sue me. I've watched the show one time in my life. I don't have the moments built up in my head the way other people do. So when it comes to things like this, where you guys have seen the movies 100 times and you've been watching this and watching reactions for 20 years, I can't understand because I don't really know the difference so well between Gogeta from that movie and Gogeta in GT, and like I haven't had the time to think about the characters so much. At least he acknowledged it's his POV. Yeah, I had my response to him was polite because he's being polite enough. I replied saying, "It's always interesting how we connect with different parts of a show for various reasons. Thanks for watching. Just take into account you are watching in retrospect and I'm watching for the first time as a new fan of Dragon Ball. I didn't watch Z as a kid and then wait 20 years for Is to come out. Like, obviously I will remember things a little bit differently. I will be focused on different scenes. Like, I have said it many times, I'm a One Piece fan, so I was never really about battles. Dragon Ball got me more into the battle shonen aspect, but if an episode is funny, yeah, I'm gonna pay attention. And besides, I wasn't not paying attention when Vegeta turned blue the first time. I forgot for a split second. So, and then in number one, Booty's favorite male character of all time is Yoichi Hiruma from Eyeshield 21, manga only. Another sports anime manga, in this case, American football. Even if they don't have superpowers per se, all the major characters have physical abilities that you could deem superhuman, except Hiruma. He is, in fact, below average if you take into account his physical abilities. But when he decided that he wanted to set his mind to this sport because it was fun, no one was able to stop him. He's extremely smart and manipulative in a chaotic way with actual blackmail. He's a demon. But for me, his two best qualities are his ability to recognize talent and push it to the limit, and his ability to have unconditional trust in those who end up following him because they want to, not because of blackmail. He's not even the MC, but he carried the story. He was able to make Eyeshield 21 my favorite manga of all time, and I can hardly see anyone in the future dethroning him from my number one spot. Then, to no one's surprise, my most hated anime character is Sasuke Uchiha. I never liked him from the start. He was a boring genius who couldn't handle the fact that a humble MC kept catching up to him, to the point of betraying his own village. But up to that point, I didn't really care. Then he and Naruto, though it was a lot more evident because of Sasuke, totally destroyed the world building that had been established. That stupid Naruto versus Sasuke fight at the end of the original Naruto changed all. For no reason other than to show some ugly animation, from glass cannon assassins into tanks that could fight for hours without any visible wounds after taking 10 plus attacks that would have been lethal up to that point in the story. Man, I really need to rewatch Naruto. I think though that sometimes I mentioned this tonight when I was talking about that fight, Luffy versus Zoro. Sometimes the show just wants to put two characters against each other, and it's more of a spectacle than, you know, like Luffy versus Zoro. I didn't take that seriously. I don't include that as part of the story when I think about the story as a whole. But I do understand that it was a lot bigger and more extravagant in Shippuden, so it would make a bigger impression. And after that, the fights did have to keep matching up to that, so it changed the nature of things. It gets worse. When Itachi's backstory was revealed, you could at least argue that everything Sasuke did before was for his goal, but his goal died with that revelation. From that point on, absolutely nothing he does make any sense. It honestly looks like he thought hard about all the possibilities and purposely chose the worst one every single time. If you add the fact that he has terrible plot armor and he saved multiple times by it, seriously, don't put him in those situations if you need to use a last second Deus Ex Machina to save him all the time. And then he comes back at the end with pretty much zero consequences. He became an insufferable character. I wish he had stayed dead in the early fight against Haku. Interesting. Yeah, I can't say much. For me, the reason I didn't particularly like Sasuke. I only started liking him as a joke because of how many people hate him in the community and keep shitting on him. But I guess the reason why he never bothered me that much compared to, other characters similar to him is because in Naruto before Shippuden, they're so small. Like, I find it very difficult to be angry at kids. Um and then after that, he was never really the focus point. And I don't remember the rest, so there's no reason for me to dislike him. Cherry says I never hated Sasuke for some reason. He was a traumatized kid and like 16 when he learned about Itachi's backstory. I don't know if he was an adult hurting others. I'd shit on him, but he's a child. Odinoko says, I agree with Booty, but not with the same intensity. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean like the story didn't focus on him. There was full arcs where he was the focus and he had people following him around. But what I meant was I never really focused on him. I never really like latched onto him at all. Like I was always kind of like if you listen to the rest of what I said, I barely remember. I was watching it for the I don't know. I was watching Naruto. How? I remember a few discussions about villains and that's it. Was I clocked out? What was my brain doing at the time? I don't understand. Sasuke was 12 when his parents died and 16 when he got manipulated by Orochimaru. I feel like there's a lot more character to hate in Naruto before I'd get to Sasuke. I agree. I think the manipulation has a lot to do with it. Like, even before his brother revealed to him, let's say your mother hits you for, sorry, I always come up with the stupidest examples mid sentence, but let's say your mother hits you for 10 years, right? From 6 years old to 16. And then she tells you, I was doing it because if I didn't do it, your father would have, like, I was holding your father off. I was taking care of it because, like, and then you realize your mother was actually abused worse, way worse than you, and she was trying to protect you. So that doesn't suddenly undo 10 years of abuse. You don't just, that hole in your heart, that those parts of your brain don't just go, oh, I feel so much better now. So, yeah, I think that was probably a huge part of it. Like, I never really zoned in on him because he was just always a sad emo kid who was really hurt and manipulated and very strong. And like, I never just, the story focused on him in parts, but I just kind of like let it play out. I was never attached to whatever was happening. And he seemed always more like don't get me wrong, he made some very bad decisions, but I just went, oh, now that's happening. Oh, now they're going over there. Oh. Uchiha became absolutely crazy when things like that happened to her. Uchiha? Mm, that also makes sense. In the context of the world, they don't seem like kids. The first time I was like, other, what a dumb kid. After the second rewatch, in a retrospective, all of what happened to Sasuke is valid. Come on, guys. Uchiha, the clan of Sasuke. But you said her. Uchiha became absolutely crazy when things like that happened to her. So you mean the clan? The clan became crazy. Is that what you mean? That also makes sense. Sasuke had more screen time, so, you'd think about him more. Man, I can't wait to rewatch all these shonen. In retrospect, it's going to be so interesting in the future. See you guys 10 years from now. We can talk more about all of this. But thank you, Booty. I really like to hear about characters that I didn't know, so I'll probably never know these characters, but it's really fun. Um, Especially, I think the Kojiro character, I feel like I want to know him. Here is Nox's answer. This one was more of a hit scratcher, but I think I managed to narrow it down to 3 standout characters. I tend to rank my favorite male characters differently from my favorite female characters. For the men, I usually focus on traits and quirks that I find relatable or endearing. These are characters who act in ways that I respect, admire, or simply understand on a personal level. Something about their personalities, their struggles, or outlook on life resonates with me and creates a connection that makes them memorable. Number 1, Katsura from Gintama. Gintama is my favorite anime of all time, so it was difficult to limit myself to a single character. Katsura stands out because he makes me feel the widest range of emotions. He is responsible for some of my favorite running gags in the series, and he always seems to appear when you least expect him. Jura janai, Katsura da. Rewatching it with kids would be funny. I can't wait. Sorry, I will keep reading about Katsura in a second, but I have a dream and I don't know how I'm going to make it work because I don't really want my kids to necessarily. I don't know how I feel about kids on videos yet. I watched the video of Paige reacting to like cute dog videos and stuff, but she's 2 years old, so it's not like she has opinions yet. So I told Lydia, like, I would have loved to see her and Paige, interacting. Like, that would have been more fun for me than just to watch a little baby sit and, obviously she's gonna think doggies are cute. So I don't really fully know how I feel about that, but I do have this idea where, they can watch it, I can react to it, and then we can talk about it afterwards. Like, they don't even need to be in the video. Like, I could have my phone on me and that just talk to my kids or something. I want to hear their thoughts. So they would have to be a little bit older. But I don't know. I fully don't know yet. But I'm super excited to share all the stories that I love with my kids. So I really hope that they like stories and not just golf. Okay, Katsura. He always seems to appear when you least expect him. I appreciate that he serves as a link to Gintoki's past, which helps him shine during some of the more serious standalone stories. Despite how ridiculous he can be, I think he's also a great interpretation of the historical figure that he was inspired by. Then, number 2, Pegasus. Pegasus! This character absolutely oozes class. One reason Yu-Gi-Oh! Remains such a fun series for me is how seriously the entire cast treats a children's trading card game. And Pegasus does it in the most condescending way possible. He works perfectly as the first major antagonist of the series, and even as a child, watching the 4Kids dub, I was shocked by his motivation. Do you talk about the motivation? Because I want to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! So I remember who Pegasus is. I didn't watch a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh, but I know who he is. He was the first anime character who helped me appreciate how powerful weaponized Toon Force could be. To this day, I still try to collect cards from his archetype, which has become increasingly frustrating because they've gotten ridiculously expensive. And then, your number 1 favorite character is Zelos from Slayers Next. Slayers was my favorite anime during high school, largely because it arrived at the same time I was getting into Dungeons and Dragons. To me, the series feels like an anime campaign, a group of adventurers travel the world, sometimes saving it and sometimes making things worse. Then, how do you say, zelos, exelos joins the cast. Out of nowhere, the party gains a member who could wipe them all out in an instant. Yet he never seems interested in helping. He hangs around, makes snide comments, and disappears whenever things get dangerous. He refuses to offer useful advice. I love the concept of a character who could solve everyone's problems but simply chooses not to because he's entertained by watching events unfold. That sounds hilarious. I said it correctly which time? Zelos? Exelos? Celos? I think it's Zelos. Zelos also started my love of characters who keep their eyes closed most of the time and only open them when things become serious. As the series progresses, you get small glimpses into his past, which constantly raises the question, how strong is he really? Why is he following the party? Whenever someone gets close to the truth, he responds with his catchphrase, それは秘密です. Or in English, that's a secret, while wagging his finger. それは秘密です. I still think about Zelos whenever I create a D&D character. His blend of mystery, power, and mischief remains one of my favorite character archetypes in fiction. And my worst boy, so this is the bonus answer, is Makoto Ito from School Days. He is the MC for School Days, and without saying too much, I will say he's one of the few MC characters who I actively root against more and more as the series progresses. I'm pretty sure that is the point, but he's not even fun to discuss in relation to motivation or goals. He's horrid all the way through, but at least he has a nice boat. Man, now I really want to know why he's so bad. Can I quickly take a look at School Days? I don't know if I'm ever gonna watch it, so let's just take a peek. Is this what it is? Is it this? Oh, what? I mean, I can imagine what the problem would be. He's beginning his second term at the fictional Sakakino Academy. Oh, a fictional school. I was wondering if it was real. During his daily train rides to and from school, he becomes infatuated with fellow student Kotonoha Katsura, a girl that also commutes. When a new classmate acquaintance of his discovers his secret crush, she helps introduce both of them, and over time they grow closer and agree to date. However, in spite of her proud and triumphant matchmaking efforts, she inadvertently becomes jealous, having also developed feelings. The following afternoon, on her way home, is the MC even like in the story? It seems to be about this other girl. So he sits with her and reiterates his appreciation for her help, and feeling heavily indebted, offers repayment any way he can. She believes he's overreacting. She decides to redeem her obligation by placing a kiss on his lips, quickly rushing into an open passenger car and happily bidding a dumbstruck Makoto luck on his date. I don't know. Disliking an MC from an eroge type show, that's not surprising at all. I honestly thought it was a show like one of those babysitter ones. School babysitters or something. I was like, what the hell? How could you dislike someone from a show like this? I don't know what I thought, but yeah, I'm not surprised if you if you dislike an MC from a show like that. Bob says, I can't say my favorites. I'll have to think about it too much, but the worst is easy. It's the Rent a Girlfriend MC. I didn't know it was eroge going into it. I thought it was a normal slice of life series. I didn't read the genre. That makes sense. Then Modru's answer. Shout out to Modru, who had to go to bed, but I'm finally getting to his answer. Rimuru Tempest. I love the type of leader that he is. He combines unmatched power with deep empathy and true egalitarianism, a highly delegative management style. By empowering his subjects, prioritizing diplomacy over blind destruction, and offering genuine equality, he has united a massive federation of monsters and humans. What is egalitarianism? I gotta Google that. It is a political and philosophical belief that all people are equal in fundamental worth and moral status. It advocates for equal treatment, rights, and opportunities across society, rejecting unjust social hierarchies, discrimination, and systemic inequalities. I like when it says advocates for equal treatment, rights, and opportunities. Because the fact of the matter is, to me, society won't ever be the kind of equal that some people imagine, because people have different desires and work ethics and so much more. But as long as you have equal opportunity, what more can you ask for? I mean, you can ask for more. There's some very important details left out, but yeah, I like it when these kind of, if we're talking about these kind of ideals, I like when they emphasize equal opportunity rather than the kind of equality that some people imagine. When I think about the people in my country, especially, like, but I just think like my dad, who worked over 12 hours, like 16 plus hours days when I was younger. Now it's okay, wait, he retired last year, but before that it was 12 hours, but because they forced them to work less. But like my dad was always the one working on every holiday, even Christmas, because everyone else wanted time off, because we have lazy people in our country. Lazy people. And that's not just our country. I mean, Greece doesn't sound that much better. But just people don't have the same values, people don't have the same work ethic, so you can never have the kind of equality that some people imagine when they talk about these things. So yeah, anyway. Rimuru Tempest. Then his second answer is Guts from Berserk. This man's life would break almost any other anime character, but he keeps pushing through. You know, comments like that make me think I regret promising to read Berserk. If I just want to read Berserk for pain, and more pain, maybe I can just read the end later and see where it all went afterwards. Luffy. What can I say about Luffy that you don't already know? And feel about him like I do. Yeah, same. Next up is Doji with a long one. Okay, let's get started. My top 3 male characters are 3 extraordinary main characters, one of whom is truly special in this category. Number 1, Alan Walker from the manga The Gray Man. For me, the best main character I've encountered in manga. One of the things I love most about a character is when they are tormented, tragic, and deeply conflicted. The character writing is masterful from beginning to end, an excellent nuance that results in a character of truly great stature. Alan Walker is respectful, polite, and remarkably mature for his age. He wants to save both humans and demons, and he himself shares their origins. A moving story, a tragic childhood, dubious origins, and psychological depth. In the context of this universe, Alan is surrounded by demons called Akuma. Demons called demons. He is very compassionate towards these enemies, especially when these Akuma are the souls of deceased people implanted in a living weapon. Cursed by them, he is the only one who can see them thanks to his cursed left eye. Left eye. His role as an exorcist is to free them. What I like most is his psychological and physical struggle throughout the work. He belongs to both enemy and ally camps, and his identity and the decisions he makes in this war are constantly challenged. He has a dual role that compels him to support two opposing sides that he loves. Despite doubt and many self-questioning, he perseveres. The goal of this character is not to suddenly become evil or choose a particular side, but to remain benevolent, to remain human throughout his evolution. He must also maintain himself and not break for the good of all, even after having experienced great trials. Kind of reminds me, it's not the same, but I recently watched an episode of Mushishi where, to long story short, but Mushishi are these, you can almost see them as like they're not yokai, but they're like beings in nature and stuff. They're connected deeply to the existence of the universe itself, the stuff that makes up everything, right? So these mushi, they're not good or bad, but it can be like a tornado in a sense. You know, a tornado causes a lot of destruction, but it doesn't necessarily try to hurt others. But anyway, there was this one mushi that was destroying everything, and they sealed it. And it was very evil to them. Their interpretation of it was very evil. I don't remember why. But it's because everything was dying. The whole, like, literally nature, people, everything. So they sealed it in this one woman who, her whole body turned like coal. And then she had a baby, and it's like a curse. So every next generation inherits this skin, but it gets less and less because the mushi is like dying, and she basically has to listen to a bunch of mushishi who are people who go around killing mushi. And she starts feeling really sad for all these mushi that are dying because they're just trying to live their own lives. They're not trying to hurt people. And then she meets this one mushishi who doesn't try and kill them, but rather tries to like balance, you know, nature and people, like coexistence in a sense. But yeah, it was just like beautiful and sad because this mushi is part of her, but she's also killing it by listening to these stories. She has to write them down, and as she writes these stories down of the mushis that are being killed, the mushi inside her is losing power and losing power, and her generation might be the lost generation that, if she can kill it successfully, like it was killed over 4 generations, more and more and more. But even though she's doing this so that the next generation doesn't have to inherit this curse, she still feels a love and a connection to the mushi that is also kind of like a part of her life. And yeah, there's that kind of, what did you call it? That contrast, that nuance, kind of, you're having your foot in both camps, so you have a deeper understanding of it's interesting. I saw someone wrote Alan and I regret not claiming him. Yeah, well, Doji should start playing Waifu Wars with us again so that he can claim his favorite character at least. In second place, we have Son Goku. Had a great physical impact on me, always seeking to improve myself physically take care of myself, and for the rest, there is no need to explain because we all know who is Son Goku. That's true. And then Sinbad from the Magi slash Adventures of Sinbad manga. This character isn't just a key figure in the Magi manga, but he's also the main character of his own own story, Sinbad no Boken. Boken. I'll do this without spoilers, of course, even though I know most of the characters included in it. He represents the trope that I love most. On an even grander scale than any other character ever created, he's the strongest in terms of character, and for me, across both manga, he represents the very highest level of writing. Ambition. My voice is starting to go. Wait. Ambition, charisma, power, tragedy. He represents all of that in Magi. He's both a great main character in Magi and his own story. Everything comes back to him. And there's also a hidden side to all of it. And that is the most interesting point about him. King of Conquerors, legendary adventurer. Spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. His goal is to change the world so that no one else will suffer the same pain that he did. That's my favorite thing. That's my favorite thing. People who go through pain and want to not perpetuate it. You get different kinds of people. You get people that go through pain and try and forget about it for the rest of their lives, you know. They try and live a normal life. They try and move forward because it's really difficult. Those are the majority of us. Then you get people who go through pain and they actively try and make it a better place. So that thank you, Hanku. So that the next generation, or at least less people, have to go through the same thing. And then you get the people who are like, oh, I was hurt, so I will hurt others. A lot of people say Gojo is inspired by Kakashi. And while some of that is true, I think Gojo is mainly inspired from Sinbad, but that's my speculation. I don't really see Kakashi in Gojo at all. Like, they're teachers with white hair, and that's where the similarities end. I think like people who say that are not thinking very deeply about it. That's not a problem. I'm just saying there's so much more to both characters that, but that's where this, I mean, maybe I'm missing something, but like teachers with white hair, they're strong, but so is most characters in both shows. They're strong. Both, I mean, Gojo is the strongest, but there's much more to him. Is Kakashi the strongest? Their personalities and looks are not very similar to me. At least I didn't make the connection. Me neither. The more you learn about Sinbad, the more you see his flaws over time. He seems to truly play with his title to the point of manipulating others to achieve his goals, as seen with the princess in season 2. To be fair, they tried to manipulate him first. They tried to make him out to be like an assaulter. And he just like flipped the script. But yeah, he uses his charm for sure, for sure. He even regrets the time when he was just a naive adventurer alongside his friends. His fame and the pedestal he's placed on in the eyes of the world seems to give him far too much of an advantage for him to not abuse it a little. But that's realistic because he's still human. Oh, the blindfold. Psh. A physical similarities don't count. Blonde hair and wears a blindfold. Psh. That means their design might be slightly similar, but doesn't mean the character is inspired by Kakashi. Despite his grandiose status in the series, with its Sinbad can do this, Sinbad can do that, he has a truly tragic side that I loved experiencing. I love being part of this type of character whom we generally never see with such low intentions and actions. Usually they're just the strongest and they act as if nothing is wrong. In short, I find Sinbad truly fascinating, and following the beginning of his evolution, starting with the adventures of Sinbad, which lost as long as Magi, which is crazy, and to finish his evolution with Magi, I was captivated and able to witness the conclusion of such a great character. So here is Alan Walker. Wow, this is such a cool visual. This looks very Tokyo Ghoul to me. Wow, wow, wow. Goku! And Sinbad. I love him. Okay, before we get to Tiago's, I quickly want to post my short. So I might have to pause the video for a minute. After Tiago's, how many more is there for me to read? Just to double check. I don't mind streaming for another hour though. After this, there are exactly 10 more if you want to think about doing a part 2 or going for all. Ooh, 10 more. And this video is an hour and 40 minutes long. I think we could do a part 2. Because I don't have a question of the week scheduled for next week. But I could fit in a part 2. And then there's a new question of the week scheduled for the 21st. And then I can only do the DBS review question of the week after the DBS movies. I need to finish 2 movies. I think this would be a very nice place to end. Although I feel a little bit sad, but it does give a few more people a chance to answer if they feel like they want to. And I properly want to talk about my top 10 too. So that's technically 11 in total. So what do you guys think? Are they shorter answers or similar lengths? All of them, roughly. Some shorter, some longer. I really love to see Goku in your top 3. And I love to hear about, like, in the same way that I really like to hear Booty's answer about characters that I don't know and I might never get to know. So it's really nice, and this is just really nice art style. It kind of reminded me because, and obviously this is it's not that I think one inspired the other. I know this came first, but I'm just saying because I watched Demon Slayer, it kind of reminded me of Tanjiro a little bit because this character is also, he comes from both worlds. But Tanjiro, he's trying to save his sister, And he has a great empathy too. I really like to see that, but even despite this great empathy, he still does what he needs to do in a sense. I asked my dad and he said he only likes one anime character, and that is Goku. I would love to hear... Oh, I don't know if this is good to bring up, but I would love to hear, because you have 2 brothers, one loves Vegeta and one loves Goku. I would love to hear their reasons, if you ever have time to ask them. Menti says, mine is the last one, but I don't mind waiting for part 2. Thank you, Menti. I also think it's always a good idea. Like, I can still stream for an hour, but my voice is already kind of starting to go. And I don't want to rush things, like maybe in 30 minutes, my voice is going more, or, I never want to rush things. So it's a good idea to save for part 2. He does. The first thing I thought about when I read The Gray Man is Tanjiro. Ah, yay. That makes me happy to hear. I love characters like that. Tanjiro used to be in my top 10, but sadly, I was kind of influenced a lot, not on purpose. I don't try to be influenced, obviously, but people kept complaining about Demon Slayer, and I kept having to, like, I didn't defend it because I don't need to defend it. But I kept reading messages about, people saying it's so like, oh, it's only about the visuals and it has blah blah blah. And then, like, I don't know, somehow it's like I forget why I love Demon Slayer. I know why I love it. There's more to it than the visuals, but just when you keep hearing the same thing over and over again, I just need a refresher. It's good to hear Thorfinn show up in these top male characters. Yes. I think since my number one is Luffy, I'm happy to see Luffy was more than one person's answer in their top 3. I love that at least one person mentioned Goku. It's funny to me that, Dragon Ball characters were mentioned, but it wasn't Goku. I love hearing about Sinbad. I love hearing about the characters that I don't even know, but it's fun to read about them. Who else? Ooh, I can't wait to find out more about Yami Sukehiro from Black Clover. I love that Shoru gave me more to think about when it comes to Higuruma. And I like the twist question about, your least favorite character. And I find it very interesting that Escanor said Gon. Cause, like, I assumed everyone would say, like, villains, people that kill their favorite characters. And I was like, whoa, the MC? The MC? Akimbo says mine would be Thorfinn, Kaneki, and the Shoto. Shoto! I love Kaneki also. I always, whenever someone talks about Tokyo Ghoul, I just want to remind everyone that I own all the manga and the art is literally so gorgeous. Spoiler alert. I really think it's so good. I probably shouldn't just randomly show things. When I see stuff like this, man, does it make me want to draw. I love the action. Whoa. I love the action in Tokyo Ghoul manga. Look at these gorgeous covers. I think an MCU dislike does more damage to a series than an antagonist. Yeah, true. You can dislike a bad guy and the series can still play out how you want, but if you dislike the MC, what are you even doing watching the series? That's true. And like, it also, because it's about screen time also. The thing is, Gon might be the MC, but there are better characters, so at least you can still watch it. I think there are better characters. I like Gon enough, but thankfully, even though he's the MC, I mean, Killua and the Kurapika and the Leorio, all the more interesting, actually, in my opinion. Annoyance in fiction is worse than villainy because you have to deal with them. Yeah, the villain eventually will get his butt kicked, so. Ooh, okay. Let me end the video here. You dislike Gon? Well then, I have an arc for you where he's barely in it. um, I really, really love this topic. I really love talking about all these amazing anime characters and like reflecting on what makes them interesting in these stories. I'm so happy that I brought back the Anime-chan podcast specifically for these kind of discussions, and I really look forward to part 2. I'm sorry to everyone whose answers I couldn't get to, but next time, at least I will give it my full attention. And then I can also, we can think about, yeah, just a day where I think it would be a fun video because I would be reflecting on all my favorite shows and what I love about the shows. So for that reason, it might be an interesting video, but obviously it would be very, like, rambly and... Espada says, I dislike Natsu, but I kept watching for 140 episodes and then I dropped it. I would love to hear about why. I can totally understand why you would dislike Natsu. He's not your cup of tea. But I'm curious why you watched for 140 episodes. Like, what for? And then why did you eventually drop it? That's an interesting topic. Thanks for bringing this back. I really love hearing the thoughts and also enjoyed the discussions about the least favorite characters. I'm really like I'm happy people spent more time writing about their favorites than their least favorites. But I'm also like surprised that I really was hoping one person would say like, but I think, sorry, I end my own sentence too early, but I think it's because least favorite, people understand the role of villains. So the criteria they were going on was, does this character make the series less enjoyable for me? So that's why there weren't really much villains, because we all know villains bring challenges and challenges are interesting parts of stories. So that's why I think a lot of people didn't really mention villains. But Soto's answer is more of what they expected. Like, he killed someone I love. I hate him. It was the pink hair. That and his personality. I really like hearing oddball answers. It reminds me of how many cool characters elevate their stories. Yeah, it gives me, we heard literally all kinds of characters. There wasn't many repeated names. And it kind of reminds you why the anime industry and stories are so enriching for our lives and our community, because we're all different people. So we latch onto different characters for different reasons, and it's just fun to talk about what stands out most to us. Like, this is a good way of getting new perspectives on stories and characters without it being argumentative, because you're not arguing about who is the best, you're just saying who's your best. So I like that. Choosing someone like Spandam from One Piece sounds pointless to me. There's nothing to like about him. My choice was from characters that you are not supposed to just hate. That could be an interesting discussion for the future. Like, okay, what are characters that made stories less enjoyable for you versus who are your most hated villains and why? Villains. Oh, one character I hate is from FMAB, Sho Tucker. Hey, didn't you recently start watching that? Yeah. Yeah. And Sotos wanted to send me a t-shirt about that. I told him he can waste his money, but I will never wear it. Orochi I hate, especially because he was a dick that got a chance to rule a country and let all the people die hungry while he was stuffing his face, and the fucker dared to have snake powers. I would hate him even if he didn't have the snake powers, but having them make it 2 times worse. Yeah, he's a good example of a character that I think if I understand correctly, he suffered and then he got the chance to be better, than make a better place than the one that he was living in where he suffered before. And then what did he do? He perpetuated the suffering worse somehow. You know, like really? You went through this. Eh? Sorry, I just need to reply to someone here. At Kelvin 140. Oh, I totally forgot about that. I was planning to react to it, but wasn't sure when I could fit it into the schedule. Why does this abomination exist? Yeah, Cherry, why? This is the t-shirt he want to send me. It's a Dragon Ball joke, Cherry, but it's not funny. Fairy Tail had such a good concept with dragons, magic, and adventure, and I had hoped it would get better, but it was still the same after 100 episodes. They hype up characters only for them to be nothing when it matters. What I remember from Fairy Tail, and I had to binge watch it because I wanted to catch up to react to the last season. This was around the time when I had just started doing reactions. So what I remember from it is just fun. Fun characters, funny jokes. I had barely watched anime at the time, and these were characters with colorful hair and magic powers and cute girls and the jiggle butt gang, which I hated. But now I think it's kind of funny, but not really. But yeah, other than that, I think that what carries the show is just the strong main characters that are really fun, the ships that are really fun, even though they never really go anywhere. Um, it is a show with a lot of potential, and I think that I probably would enjoy the manga more. And yeah, the anime couldn't really. Mm, the anime was, but it had the music and the, so it was pure fun, and but I see why you didn't like it. Okay, I have to go to the bathroom. I have to pee so bad, but let me just end the video, but not the stream. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week for part 2.